So there are calls from the international community for a ceasefire, but given the latest statements by both Azerbaijan and Armenia's side, are you choosing to ignore international calls for a ceasefire?
No, we are not ignoring, but ceasefire cannot be achieved unilaterally. I'm just trying to deliver the message to those leaders who called me during these days, saying that it was not Azerbaijan who started. We had to defend ourselves. If we did not respond this time the way we did, today we would have had hundreds of victims among civilians. They want to kill as many Azerbaijanis they can. Ceasefire, okay, but on what conditions? Conditions must be that they withdraw from the territories. We need our territories back by peaceful means. And we demonstrated for 28 years our willingness to have peaceful settlement.
Now we're at the stage where there's open confrontation between Armenia and Azerbaijan. What are your preferred options? An increased military pushback against Azerbaijan or a call for ceasefire and talks?
I would like to start off by clarifying something about your question, because in this particular case, Armenia is acting as the guarantor of security of Armenians of Nagorno-Karabakh, and Azerbaijan launched a direct attack on Nagorno-Karabakh, and Armenia has certain obligations to provide the security of Nagorno-Karabakh. And in this context, Azerbaijan also started to strike settlements in the Republic of Armenia and the civilian population in the Republic of Armenia. The September 27 offensive of Azerbaijan on Nagorno-Karabakh began with shelling of civilian settlements, and this is a fact that we need to acknowledge. And then the rest of the answer to the question would be as follows. When there is an attack, when there is aggression, the very first task is to protect from that aggression and to stop that aggression, after which only will it be possible to talk about negotiations. In a situation in which there is an aggression, I can say with confidence that the Armenians of Nagorno-Karabakh will not retreat in the face of the aggression. At the same time, it's necessary to acknowledge that the issue of Nagorno-Karabakh has nothing but a peaceful solution, and confronting the aggression will de facto prove it.
But are you saying then that but before there is a peaceful solution, you're going to have to make some military gains?
As I said already, our task is to defend, because Azerbaijan launched an attack in the direction of Nagorno-Karabakh, and obviously the very first task of the Armenians of Nagorno-Karabakh is to defend against this aggression.
Would you accept going to the negotiating table with Armenia's Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan? Actually,
negotiations stopped, because after his statement that Karabakh is Armenia, I said there's no room for negotiations. But Minsk Group co-chairs were making requests to me that Azerbaijan show maybe more, understanding with respect to the fact that the Armenian government is new and maybe they do not completely control their emotions and their words. And I said, okay, let's try. We want to find a peaceful solution. Therefore, we waited for so many years, and probably negotiations would have been continued if not for this destructive approach. And after that statement, I had a meeting with the Armenian Prime Minister, but they were absolutely meaningless. They were formal. He was telling me that they are not going to give territories back. And then what to talk about?
You know, essentially everything that needed to be done has been done. When I entered the office of the Prime Minister of the Republic of Armenia, I proposed a formula as a basis for my policy on the Nagorno-Karabakh issue, saying that we have to agree that any settlement, any solution to the conflict has to be acceptable to the people of Armenia, to the people of Nagorno-Karabakh, and to the people of Azerbaijan. And this formula is something which I proposed as a basis for settlement of the conflict. Unfortunately, Azerbaijan, starting from the mid-2000s, has essentially been advancing the military philosophy and policy as an option for resolution, and is refusing in any way to engage in mutual concessions. And I think what is significant here is a dictatorial government, such as the one established in Azerbaijan, is not inclined to make mutual concessions, and only democratically elected governments are capable of engaging in or proposing mutual concessions, such as the one which I proposed in that formula I just mentioned. And instead, in return, the president of Azerbaijan essentially said that the solution of the Karabakh issue can happen only and only within the frames of Azerbaijan's territorial integrity, which means that the issue of Karabakh would return to the status quo where it began in 1988, in the days of the Soviet Union. Therefore, it would be impossible to resolve any conflict by returning it to the point where it began.
What about Armenia's claims that Ankara is militarily involved in this conflict with its planes, etc.?
This is false information. It has no proofs. I already made statements about that. Turkey is our brotherly country. From the very first day of Armenian attack, from the very first hour, Turkey expressed its full support to Azerbaijan. My brother, President Erdogan, many times made very important statements that Turkey is next to Azerbaijan, and Azerbaijan is not alone. We feel this support. We are very grateful to our Turkish brothers and president and other officials. But Turkey in no other way is involved in the conflict.
Well, do you want Moscow to be neutral? For Azerbaijan, they have had Recep Tayyip Erdogan has clearly stated his support for Azerbaijan. Would you like to see something similar come from Vladimir Putin in your favor?
Well, you see, here's our position that, first of all, Russia, as a co-chair country of the OSCE Minsk group, should take all measures for security and peace in the region and for resolution of the Karabakh conflict. Russia has, with Armenia, commitments in the security field, and to be precise, cooperation in the security field. And that is one of the items in our agenda.
Would you want to see Russian peacekeepers, for example, in Nagorno-Karabakh?
Well, you see, those issues could be discussed in the context of the wider resolution within the OSCE Minsk Group co-chairmanship.
Armenia also accuses Turkey for transferring Syrian opposition fighters to Azerbaijan. This
is fake news, absolutely. The same fake news as they said that Turkish F-16 shut down the Su-25. The Su-25 had an accident, I was informed, but it hit the mountain because of unexperienced pilot.
But they say they have evidence to prove that.
Let them show it. Where is evidence? Not only Armenia. Unfortunately, President of France made a statement about that. And he called me on the 27th in the evening, and I said, it's wrong, it's false. And he makes these statements without any evidence. And let him give us evidence. Let him give us proofs. Only words. We can also say many words. We don't. We behave in a responsible way. There is not a single evidence of any foreign presence in Azerbaijan.
You mentioned Turkey in your answer there, and yes, Turkey has now come out firmly on the side of Azerbaijan, says it will support Azerbaijan, and has criticised your approach to Azerbaijan, but do you have evidence really that Turkey is going as far as supplying mercenaries?
The evidence of that is appearing in the international media day after day, one after another, in reputable sources such as The Guardian, Reuters. The relatives of these mercenaries are telling the stories, their family members are telling the stories, and specific individuals have testified. They have spoken to journalists and said that Turkey is recruiting those people, transporting them to Azerbaijan to take part in the war against Armenia and Nagorno-Karabakh.
Will you also be presenting your evidence on the foreign mercenaries that Armenia brings?
We have already some intelligence information, and plus I was shown that there are videos in the internet as people from Middle East are sitting together with Armenian soldiers, and they have in their uniform, they have Armenian national flag, and they sit together and discuss. You know, it's not without, it is without voice, but it's enough, I think. And they must be responsible for that. We don't have a problem with Armenian people. They are our citizens. We have thousands of Armenians living in Azerbaijan. And those who live in Nagorno-Karabakh area, also we consider them our citizens. And we invite them to live together with us as many other nationalities and ethnicities who live in Azerbaijan. Therefore, Armenia should refrain completely from these provocative statements. They should make new statements that Karabakh is not Armenia, and then we will see.
Well, then you have also the allegations of the war crimes committed by the Armenian forces back in the late 80s and early 90s in Nagorno-Karabakh that the European Court of Human Rights has catalogued, and again a failure to address those issues.
No, that's a misunderstanding. Where did you get that? Where's that information coming from? It's just Azerbaijani propaganda. It's another one of the tools of Azerbaijani propaganda, because in the European Court of Human Rights, there are other judgments and decisions that actually blame Azerbaijan for specific and concrete crimes. We can also look at the infamous case of Ramil Safarov, the Azerbaijani officer who was taking part in together with Armenian officers, they were taking part in a training course of NATO, and he killed an Armenian officer in his sleep with an axe. For many years, Azerbaijan was developing anti-Armenian propaganda, and this is one of the consequences. And that act happened in Hungary, in Budapest. The court of Budapest convicted Safarov to life in prison, after which, after serving 8 years in prison, he was extradited to Azerbaijan, where Aliyev issued an order releasing him, and there was a process of nationwide glorification of the person. This one episode really illustrates the whole history of the Karabakh conflict. The context of today's events is also described with this. Today, many Ramil Safarovs have attacked people who were sleeping peacefully, numerous Armenians. This is the story that is happening.